been a journey. Have we gotten wiser this week?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, we're getting faster.
We're getting faster. The messy end stuff is still fucking nightmare. It's a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I also don't like that it's called mode 3 and it has 3 modes.
Right.
It's like, that's a very confusing name for it. But what you gonna do?
No, I didn't name it, so.
I know you didn't. I feel like I'm starting to see things a little bit quicker. I can move all sorts of like things that I wasn't able to before. Like I'm getting some of these sounds sorted together, seeing more chord shapes that with the help of your etude, some of these shapes, especially like, when you get them moving, it's still very hard for me to not see composing in these scales as completely arbitrary. But then it brings up like a real philosophical question, which is like, isn't it always like, what are you doing with major scales that makes it like
right,
not arbitrary, right? Because you have all these sounds you're going for in your brain from music you listen to.
Right.
And in this one, it's like, well, nobody's really drawing from there.
Yeah.
So you don't have those sounds in your brain too. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Messiaen draws from there, obviously, and Alan's drawing from there.
Sure.
So, I mean, and that's the stuff that makes him so unique, I think, is those use of scales that not everybody's using.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, but I'm in. There's no need to convince me. I'm as we say, we are balls deep in the mystery.
Yeah, I mean, I love it for composing, like, because there's just things that I've come up with, things that I never would have come up with.
Oh, for sure.
Like voicings I never would have thought about.
What were we moving yesterday? We made a video about moving this. I think it was through major flat 6 flat.
Oh, is it the big one?
These guys.
Oh yeah.
These kind of voicings, and then taking them real slow, Nick. Slower, Nick. Like these guys. I just decided to stop before I fuck up, but.
Good idea.
Yeah, 3 is enough.
And then, like, just some of the root movements too. Stuff that I wouldn't probably think about. Even though, a lot of it, Alan could be thinking non-functional or whatever. We don't know for sure, right? There's no way to know for sure. But if you just go off of what he says about voicings and everything being part of the scales he's thinking about at the time, that he likes to modulate a lot, that kind of stuff,
Okay, so we said we're going to talk about the jazz minor today, which I do want to do. But before that, what would be like if we take a standard, like a real standard, like and we aim to destroy it? What would be like a good, like what's a thing that we can, that's reasonable to practice, I guess? Like if you have the root motion of like a standard tune, standard harmony, and maybe something like, using stuff we've talked about so far to try to apply.
Yeah, so if you just take a 2-5-1, just playing mode 3 off the root on the dominant chord instead of the altered scale, that's going to be probably the simplest thing.
So like if I'm 2-5-1 in C, I'm doing G mode 3 on the G.
Right. Yeah, and that's going to give you the natural 9, the flat 9, or the sharp 9, right?
Mm-hmm, right.
Sharp 9 in there.
Right. So So.
They get the sharp 5, sharp 5 in there. You know, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Start 9 and the natural 9, you know, and it all depends on like too what kind of sound you're trying to get. Are you trying to do a Holdsworthian type thing? Are you trying to play more straight ahead and get straight ahead sounds? Because there's better ways to get straight ahead sounds.
Oh yeah. No. I'm not definitely not trying to get straight ahead sound. This is how to Holdsworth, man.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah.
This is all we're doing. We are not interested in anything else. We are deeply disinterested in any other sounds on this program.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, this is 100% of the draw. But okay, so that's a good one. How about all right. I guess this week we'll play All of Me.
Yeah.
And then we're going to really fuck with the dominant chords. So it would be like C, E Messiaen, E mode 3, A mode 3, D Dorian.
Oh,
E
we could
mode
put
3.
You could put this scale, the scale we're going to talk about today, on the 2 chord, you know.
Yeah.
So okay, here's the question. Why put that jazz minor on the 2 chord and not the major, like the Dorian flat 2, flat 5, meaning like the major flat 6, flat 3, or you could. Those are just flavors when it comes to
They're
like
just flavors, right? I mean, if you're thinking about it like Alan thinks about it, he has multiple scales, right? Any scale that contains at least the triad, right? So if you have a minor triad, any scale that has a minor triad to him is a go-to scale, right? So, or if it has like the 5 chord leading back to that minor.
5 chord leading back. So meaning like if he's playing on D minor, A mode 3 is an option for that D minor.
Well, he'll do, so A, and he also does like 2/5, like he'll do like even G back to D, so like G7 back to D minor.
So G Messiaen, because it's like seeing D as the relative 2 chord and then playing altered on the 5.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I feel like we should make like really ruin All of Me this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. I've done it with like Stella by Starlight and took that standard.
Okay, let's just go through like chord. So it's Stella by Starlight. What would be just kind of like off the top of your head choices, like the first 2/5?
So like the minor 2/5, you could do. So what I would do. So I minor convert things, right? So I'm going to do. So to me, that E7 minor 7 flat 5 is G minor.
Minor 6, yeah.
Yeah. So I might just add, the flat 9 and the flat 5 to that.
Okay.
So like to the minor, to G minor.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm playing
so you're basically like F.
Yeah. Add flat 3, flat 6.
Okay. Right? So that's for E minor or for E minor and A?
You could do for both. Yeah. So you might do it for both. Because I even do G, like I'll think G minor over that A7 a lot too.
Yeah.
But I'll just add I'll be thinking about the 3rd. So it's kind of like a D harmonic minor, which is, all related to that, to me, to G minor 7.
Okay.
Over that. So yeah, I'd probably, I'd probably have to look at the, because Thomas and I did that like years ago when we first started messing with these scales. I just assigned Messiaen modes to each chord, the first 8 bars. I think we just did like the first 8 bars or whatever.
So to each chord or to each like pair of chords?
Depends. So if I could find both chords in there, then I'll just do one scale. Just depends on how much madness you want to deal with. You could do it either way. If you can find both chords in there, then you can do just the one scale over a pair of chords. But if you want even more madness, then you do, you know, each chord individually, and you get more craziness.
Yeah, I mean, it's really fun to talk about this stuff hypothetically. This is when we're actually practicing harmonics. They're just holding our dicks in our hands and say,
Yeah.
be in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That stuff. So I can't remember exactly what I did. So
Okay,
I have to
cool.
look at it.
Look that up and let us know. That would be fun for us. Okay, let's start talking about jazz minor.
All right.
What is in there?
Man, this is a really interesting scale. Some really cool, interesting things and some kind of confusing things. So A harmonic minor, C harmonic major.
We're talking about D minor.
Yeah,
right?
D. So I'm talking about D. So we're adding A flat and C
melodic minor
sharp.
with a flat 7 and a flat
5.
Yes.
Yeah, so A flat and C sharp, right?
All right. So. Right? Okay, we got it.
Yeah. So yeah, you've got A harmonic minor in there,
Yep.
D harmonic major,
Wait.
C harmonic major,
C harmonic major.
right?
Yeah, let me turn you. I think you're coming. Can you talk for a second?
Hello, check,
Oh, I
check.
think he's coming out of the computer speakers. There you are.
Oh, okay.
Okay. To avoid feedback. Okay, so C harmonic major, A harmonic
Right,
minor,
yeah,
right? Because that's just from adding the A flat so far.
the A flat, right?
Yeah.
Then you get C sharp augmented scale.
Right. That is weird. Okay. Okay, cool. From the 7.
Yeah. So and then you get the D minor bebop scale, obviously.
Yeah.
You also get the major bebop scale, right?
Right, from C.
Right, and then you also get another 8-note scale, which is one of Alan's scales, scale number 11, D jazz minor, add sharp 11 or flat 5.
Huh? D
Yeah.
jazz.
Yeah,
Well, that's the
D
whole
melodic minor, yeah, D melodic minor with the flat 5. So
It's omitting the flat 7.
yeah, so you're dropping the flat 7.
Yeah. Okay, we got
That's
that.
a scale that was in, just for the curious, it was one of Alan's scales, right? 8-note scales. So we know he thinks about that scale. And then the really interesting thing here, 2 interesting things, is you get D flat mode 3, right? Minus E flat. So it's a drop note mode 3 scale.
Minus E flat. That is so okay. So it's like I just that one. No, minus which one?
E
Hold on.
flat. So you drop E flat from D flat mode 3.
Oh, D flat.
Play
Okay.
that 3-note per string, you'll automatically get like these Holdsworthian earrings. The minor third half step shape like just shows up naturally.
Oh, the whole because you have this and that, right?
So
Yeah.
this is a scale, this scale, when I was logging all those scales, this is one of the ones I stumbled upon. And I started just playing around with it, 3-note per string and stuff like that. And I was like, oh man, there's so much like Holdsworth stuff in here, just automatic, you know?
Okay. Okay. So yeah. So built off of C sharp, no Messiaen, no E flat.
Right.
Okay.
And
Now-
then,
Okay. Keep going.
so yeah, so another really interesting thing is C sharp half hold diminished, but you're dropping B flat from
So,
it.
in a 7-note scale that's like diminished.
Right, it's like diminished.
That?
A flat B, C sharp.
Oh wow.
And again, you get some like instant Holdsworthian
Right.
ideas, sound.
Huh.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know?
And the major application for this obviously could be anything, but like typically, or I guess starting out like just over that D minor. I'm assuming since everybody's calling it jazz minor, that's a pretty big part of how it's conceptualized, how it's used over like
Well, I mean, used like just, well, the name for Alan, there would just be a symbol, right? So it's just a group of notes, right? So this is, so I was talking to a friend of mine who's, you know, another Holdsworthian guy who everybody probably knows, but yesterday, and I was telling him, you know, because he's trying to fit like a lot of the stuff I figured out from in the mystery into his way of thinking. And what happens is he ends up making things 20 million times more complicated than they need to be. And I'm like, I said, you know, I told him, said, instead of trying to fit the way Alan thought into the way you think, you need to change the way you think. That's what I had to do. I had to start all over from the beginning. And I just had to be like, okay, Alan's not thinking 2-5-1. Alan's not thinking any sort of common chord progression like that. He's not thinking about, you know, necessarily voice leading in his lines or whatever, like landing on chord tones, right? He's not a chord tone player. He's a linear sheets of sound player. And, you know, all these scales are really just groups of notes. So all these names and everything, you know, for me, like seeing the subsets helps me be able to understand all the available chords, right, that are within that scale. And then I can hook those chords together any way I want to. I don't think about 2-5-1s or anything like that anymore. I let all that stuff go, right? I just think about chords that sound cool going from one to the other. And so like one of the things that, like, you know, that little clip I sent you, what I was doing was weaving in and out of some of these subsets part of the time, right? Like I did like an C sharp augmented line. I did like, I went straight through the scale, like at the beginning or whatever. Then I did like the major scale in there. I did harmonic minor in there. And like one of the chord progression I came up with, you know, was like, so like that voicing. So it's like that. And then this voicing is just like, you know, I was just seeing a group of notes that I thought sounded cool together. Right? I mean, you can name it, but it's like really difficult to name.
Sure.
You know?
So it's more like a shape than
just the sound.
Yeah.
You know? So I was just thinking, oh, that sounds cool. So I'll use it. And all those notes are in the scale. Like, I don't care what it's called, you know.
I love it. This is why we need to move to Waco and start the French Messianians, because it's like, you leave your old life at the door.
Yeah.
It's like that's it's perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, no, we gotta I agree that like my tendency is always to like try to take this stuff and be like, okay, well, but I'm in these actual situations. You know what I mean? Like I haven't written music like this. I'm in a band. We play tunes.
Right.
I need to shred over D minor. You know, going to G7. So yeah, it's
That can be used that way,
I know, but it's like it makes it so much more complicated to think about if you're coming from like this, like okay, the temptation that I've had so far with like the major scales, the major stuff with the flat 3 and flat 6 was to take every single root note and to start explaining to myself the scale modally, like against an F, like whatever, like I have like a Lydian, I don't know what it'd be like with a sharp 9 and a flat 7, and then like change the and just starts piecing it together from that perspective, like how every time you flip it, you sort of, but I mean, I get what you're saying. It's like the idea is that somehow the bass motion is just as free as the melody motion, and everything is sort of spinning out of time, and you're just picking the stuff that you want. And the way to make it easy for yourself is to not just see the 9-note possibility, is to see all the subsets, and how when you just mix and match it in different ways, it kind of gives you this collage of the sound.
So first of all, like, I probably never would have come up with that chord sequence if I wasn't thinking about this scale. And then if I did come up with a similar chord sequence, I most likely would not have thought to play C sharp augmented over it. Right. So it's like, this is stuff that, to me is really cool.
Well, we were talking about, like I keep bringing the example of the major flat 3, flat 6, because it's the only one that we have real practice experience with, and just seeing the amount of, let's say, minor major 7s that come out of it, right? Like you have like like an F minor major 7, E, C, E flat, or A flat, A. All these different ones. And if I saw those sounds on a chart, or if I transcribed them, I would literally play separate melodic minors,
right?
Every one. And if there was like a section where they're like syncopated hits or something like that, I would be like, how is he switching his thinking so quickly? I would not think that they all belong to one tonal family.
Right.
So that's a major like revelation to me.
Yeah. All
right. Well, let's get this thing under our fingers. What do we do?
So so this one, again, you go to the shapes, right? The familiar shapes and everything. So the minor third half step thing is like the first thing I always look for, right?
Right.
So all of that. All of that. All of that. Right? Do what?
He's going. Yeah, you're fast. Okay, so okay, the minor third half step. Where do we have it? We have an A flat, and we have what do we say? A C sharp.
Yeah. So we have it
starting from F. That's one. We have it starting from A flat. We have it starting from A. So that's 3 spots.
Have it off the 5th, the major 7th, off C sharp.
5th, right? Oh, the major 7th.
Yeah.
So that's it, right? 9th. Yeah. So 4 places from E.
5.
Oh, sorry. From E, from C
the minor third.
A and G.
Off of F.
Second.
Off of F, off the minor third.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. So 5 spots.
5 spots. Yeah.
And they're different from the one before, because
right.
But the other one has 5 as well. Okay. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and across strings. What a nightmare. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Oh, I'm teaching myself how to do this shit. It's not easy.
Yeah. There you go, man. Yeah.
I figured out how to do this thing in the Messiaen thing, just technically. Just the hammer-ons from nowhere.
Oh yeah,
It's been very counterintuitive.
yeah.
Like I remember like a Sean Lane thing, like technical thing I used to do when I was like 17, and then I was like, oh, but I thought I had it, but I was like, I sucked when I was 17. I just imagined that I could do it, and I was like, ah, very horrible. But yeah, it's okay. And so we got those. So that's shape A. Shape 2, I'm guessing, would be the half step minor third.
There's that one. Yeah, that one's off of G, so off the 4th.
Right.
Off of the flat 5.
Yeah.
Major 7th, or the minor 7th and the major 7th.
Right. And E, right? The 9th. We would have that. So 5 places too. Well, that's pretty cool. All right.
Yep. And then the whole step, or was it the half step, whole step shape? There's like a lot of places in this scale to do that. So you've got that off of the major 7th,
right,
off the flat 5, off the 9th, off the 6th.
Right.
And then you've got it off of the major, I already said major 7th, right?
Yeah.
It's off the 9th. I said the 9th, right? Yeah. Yep. So this phrase, Alan ends a lot of phrases with this.
Yeah. Some of your etudes, I saw that too. Yeah. Very cool. Okay. All right. So that's a pretty good starting point. I think for me, like a lot of like the subsets seem so like first of all, when I go into diminished world, like half whole diminished, the idea that I could choose a note to take out is absurd. Symmetric scales, it's not that's an amount of control over it that you actually have to hold to the notes.
Right. Well, it's a different group of notes, right? So you think of it kind of as a different group of notes, and then you end up with things that you would never come up with otherwise, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's a different level of control, because you really have to think about what the note is that you're eliminating.
Yep.
But that's the thing that's so bizarre about this way of thinking, because you're eliminating things without holding to a modal reference point. You know what I mean? So it's like, for me, like if I shoot out a note, it'd be like I'm not playing the 5th.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it's a sound. I'm describing a sound, but you're saying like you're taking out B flat, regardless of like, you know, what it's relative to. So it's really like something where you almost have to think about like a piano player or a saxophone player, where you're just like thinking about a group of notes that you're conceptualizing and eliminating one of them. It's very unguitaristic in a lot of ways.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Okay. What are like for those subsets, what are some shapes that you like use? Like, let's talk about that Messiaen that exists in the minor, Messiaen. How would you call it? Eliminate second, like Messiaen.
Oh yeah, like
Oh, 309.
so C sharp, yeah, the ninth. Just getting
Yeah.
rid of the ninth. Yeah.
Okay, so how would you finger some of that? Like, so 3 notes per string is what you would try to do?
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so it would be like, no, shit, sorry. Ah,
Kind of like it. Yep.
nice. Okay, that's an octave, so now I have to get rid of the 9th, which is the next note. So now I would have. I'm scared.
Let me show you, and then we can try it out.
Yeah, how about you show us?
Huh?
Sorry, I think I'm feeling those edibles. I'm intermittent fasting too. They're acting quick.
So right.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, that's like a cool little move right there.
But then no 9th again. Sick. So, and this could be like vocabulary that's over a C sharp altered, right? It's just like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm taking away the 9th. Yeah. That's a great sound. Ah, lost it. C sharp. No, that's not right. Yeah. I think I got it.
Yep.
Sick.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So some cool stuff in there. And then like the other thing, you know, like another thing Alan does a lot, right, is you'll see like these 3-note groupings like of half steps, and then he'll slide and play like one of the shapes.
I stumbled upon that. Like that to extend out. So. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. In the case of this subset, do you see it housed inside of that jazz minor add flat 7, flat 5? Like,
Yeah.
do you see that sort of as like
Yeah.
inside this bigger shape, just kind of like options swimming in there?
Yeah, that's one of the things. Like I feel like
I don't have the house yet. I haven't built so it's very confusing.
yeah. I mean, one of the interesting things, man, when I started messing with this approach and confining myself to 9-note scales and trying to find these subsets and everything, it actually helped me learn, you know, like harmonic major and Hungarian minor better. I feel like I know those better than I did before I started messing with the 9-note scales. You know what I mean? Like
It
I can
certainly seemed like a bigger deal before.
That's the least of your problems.
Yeah.
You yearn for the days where that was hard.
That's right. 'Cause, like, we were playing like me and Nick were playing standards, and we were trying to play like, you know, melodic minor sharp 4, like the 4th motive, like harmonic major over this, and it's like, oh, this is kind of hard to see. But that was like back in a time where we could actually see what we were doing. It's like compared to like just playing harmonic minor jazz lines, it was hard. But compared to this, it's a joke.
Yeah.
Oh, there's like 4 arpeggios here.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like it helped with that, seeing all those smaller scales better, and I
Yeah.
see it as like part of this bigger thing now. So I weave in and out, So like on that clip I sent you, that's what I'm doing. If you go back and watch it
Yeah.
now that you know more about this scale, you'll see what I'm doing,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's still so mysterious. I gotta say, like, I think because I feel like my ear is sort of recognizing more of it now, but I'm still like, when I listen to Alan, like, to his music, and I'm just trying to be honest with myself, like, what is he doing there based on like listening?
Yeah.
I still do not have that ability at all to differentiate. Like maybe some things with very obvious symmetrical shapes and like this.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like I can hear like.
I mean, one of the things Alan does, and we'll, get into this when we start breaking down lines and stuff, is how he doesn't stay in one sound very long, right? And he talks about like wanting to make everything sound inside out and upside down, and he never really wanted anybody to know what he was doing, right? He wants to make it sound like, which it is. Most people listen to and go, "What the fuck is this shit?" Like what?
Yeah.
And it, Alien Holdsworth, right?
Right.
But I think once you understand all those, groups of notes and how he thinks about those groups of notes, and then how he weaves in and out, like he might, like on G minor. So there was a line I was breaking down with my friend the other day. I was breaking it down for him on Devil Take the Hindmost, a live solo, right? So where you think Alan might just sometimes start actually wiggling his fingers, like, but when you listen to the line, it sounds like insane, but it's 4 different scales that he's kind of weaving in and out of that are all related to G minor.
Which ones did it happen?
One of them. So let me find it. Hang on. Figure we could look at this line at some point and break it down. I don't know if you want to do that now or not.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean that to me is kind of like the next layer of mystery in the mystery.
Yeah,
Right?
so that's what you want to do. Are you ready for that?
No, I'm not ready for any of
I
it.
don't know if you're ready.
I'm still getting my first lesson.
You're gonna end up in a straight jacket if you get too far ahead.
That's
Well,
right.
before we get into that, because I want to say something else about this scale, right? So, another thing that Alan does, like another movement that we haven't really talked about, right, is when you see him doing like, so in C major, for example, like fourths or major thirds, and he does
We were just
right, like that's all in C major.
right.
Well, in this scale, you get like major thirds, and this is where like another tricky thing. When I first started trying to figure Alan out, at one point I thought he was moving intervals in like different like major thirds in whole steps, major thirds in minor thirds, major thirds and major thirds, and like so I came up with this whole system of where like I took every interval and then I cycled that interval through every cycle of intervals you can cycle it through.
Sure.
Right. I came up with all these really cool lines. I mean, they're really cool, but it ended up ultimately not sounding like Alan, and it sounds way more atonal or whatever. But this particular scale has like, this major third all right next to each other like that, So if you see something he might do, he might go,
trying to come up with something pretty similar to that yesterday.
That was in Messiaen, though.
In the Messiaen.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's like the reverse of what you came up with. Yeah.
That was like a... That was kind of...
Yeah. So that kind of stuff that he does is still coming from these scales, you know.
Okay. That would be an interesting thing to look at. So, and a lot of times those thirds are really a fourth in the scale.
Right. It can be he'll do fourths, or he'll do major thirds or minor thirds, you know.
Yeah.
So
I'm talking about like the interval that would, like a major third would be a scale fourth. It would be like
in
the middle. Right. Okay. Cool. Yes. We'll check out some of that too. So, but I'm curious just for a second. So, where do we have that in the actual mode, like a major third? We got that off F,
E,
G,
yeah, G,
A flat, so that's 3, A4, not here, here, C,
and then C sharp,
and that's it, right? So 6 places.
and E. I don't know if you can have E at the beginning.
So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 places. 7 major thirds?
That's pretty crazy.
Jesus fucking Christ. Wait a second. So what does it spell a scale or something? Like E, F, G? No. Because you have... So the whole beginning of the scale, you got it. It's easier to think about the 2 notes you don't have it, huh? You don't have it on D, and you don't have it on B. The rest of them are fair game.
Yeah.
All right.
You know, we were talking a minute ago about like dropping a note out of the diminished scale or whatever, right? Like just thinking of note, like one of the ways I think about mode 3 in the beginning, before I figured out all the subsets and everything, and I was trying to see it, was so like C mode 3 is just, there's an augmented triad. This augmented triad does not exist in C mode 3. So I just thought of these 3 notes as avoid notes. And then it opened up the neck to me to see all this, you know, wide interval stretching stuff and everything. So like I've gotten pretty good at being able to take a scale and just think of a note as an avoid note, right? So I'm just like, okay, this note is an avoid note. Excuse me. And you know, it's not easy, but the more you do that kind of stuff, the more that, you know, when you start thinking in this more scalar way, versus like, you know, approach notes and enclosures and all this stuff, it just starts to become more and more natural. You know?
After the first time we talked, I was like, I had this feeling like I was really fishing for notes in a way that I haven't since I was like a kid.
Yeah.
And I realized that, like, you know, my path in music has been to sort of eliminate fishing, and this is becoming a fisherman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like you gotta wrestle with the fretboard quickly live. Like that's like a big part of it is like that's the game. It's not language to where it's memorized things that are memorized so deeply that you're not even aware that they're memorized.
Yep.
You know, because that seems, if you're trying to play like, I don't know, Scott Henderson, Pat Martino, it doesn't matter, like Matheny, it's a lot of stuff that just needs to be so deeply ingrained. Conscious, right? But here it's just like you're in the arena.
Well, this turns into that too, though, right? You end up with things that are ingrained. You'll find movements and like things that you tend to gravitate to more than other things. And like, so Alan, for example, like, you know, he has a lot of, if you want to call them licks, call them licks, but movements, I call them movements, you know, that's what I call them.
I always call them moves, but it's
moves, but he plays like a lot of similar things over and over and over and over and over again. And a lot of it, you know, Well, it seems really awkward at first when you're first trying to do it. Once you are able to, you become more familiar with like his fingerings and the hammer-ons from nowhere and stuff like that. You start to realize, well, this is actually the easiest way to play this phrase. It actually makes guitar playing very easy.
Yeah.
Which you would not think, right? Especially when you first start doing it. Because like for me, it makes your hand like less fatigued, kind of what I'm trying to get at, right? So like the way that I used to do legato, or that I typically do it, right, with a lot of rolling hammer-ons and pull-off type ideas, and the way Alan does it, it's like a lot more hammer-ons, right? There's some pull-offs here and there, but it's not a lot, and there's a lot of picking, and there's a lot of, those lines like you just did with that when you were doing the mode 3 thing or whatever, right? That doesn't take a lot, as much dexterity as doing like, if I was doing all these rolls and everything, like your hand can start to get fatigued pretty quick. And a lot of the stuff I play, that's what tends to happen because I play a lot of stuff like that. But but when I play Alan's solos, whenever I've learned his solos, I actually work them up. I realize that my hand's not getting as fatigued as like if I were just playing something, So
okay. Let's get into that modulating between different scale thing. Because
you have to do screen share. Like let me screen share.
I think you should be able to do it now.
All right.
Sick.
There we go. All right. So this is my friend Daryl Gable. This is his transcription, right?
Okay.
So I can't take credit for the transcription, but I did the analysis. And basically what you've got here,
F major, C.
up to here is the major flat 3, flat 6 scale. Even though he doesn't play the flat 6, so it's like he dropped that note, but the rest of those notes are from that scale, right?
Okay.
And then from here to here, mode 3. So this has a G minor triad in it, by the way.
So this is all over like that, but like the G minor.
B minor. Yep.
So why C mode 3?
Right. C mode 3 has a G minor triad in it.
C mode 3, but why would it? Oh, because it's like a 2/5 and it's over the 5. Right?
I mean, he could just be thinking about the triad, like I was saying with him. Like a lot of things I saw in interviews were just, I think the guys disappeared.
Did our camera just die?
Yeah, just switch to the other one.
So yeah, a lot of the things I found in the quotes were him talking about triads a lot, like just finding a triad and that being enough for him to call that scale usable, right?
Okay.
So that's probably what he's thinking there. It's just that scale has the minor triad in it. It doesn't have the 7th chord in it because it doesn't have an F, but it does have the minor triad. But the F sharp, would be, which he does play over here, or G flat, would be, an outside tone. So here, B flat, jazz major, flat 3, flat 6, has a minor 7 chord in it. All right.
So that would be kind of like the Aeolian.
Yeah. Right.
Language into
Aeolian with the added notes.
Yeah.
And then G half diminished, which is, again, has a minor triad in it.
So you're saying whole half diminished?
Yeah, G whole half.
Yeah.
Or actually half whole.
Half whole, sorry.
Yeah. Which has a minor triad in it. Has a minor 7 chord in it. And then this, I don't know, because I just said G melodic minor, but I don't know what the rest of the line is. That could change based on what I see after that, so I don't know for sure. But those notes are coming from G melodic minor. Anyway, so you basically got 4 scales right here that are all related to the harmony that he's weaving in and out of.
How do you see it on one chord? How do you, like, what's the path towards that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, But like I said, it's a lot of movements and stuff that are, common to him.
Right. But like for you, you're seeing a lot of like those minor third half step things, and you've kind of studied these scales enough to where it becomes obvious to you which ones that, or you're like kind of looking for clues. You're looking at
Yeah, I mean, what I do is I just write down all the notes like on my phone, and then I'll just sit on the couch and start going, oh yeah, this is that scale, this is that scale, you know what I mean?
like the note. Okay,
Yeah, so I'll write down the notes
and then
of
when it stops making sense in the group, you'll be like, okay, he modulated to a different thing.
right, he modulated to a different
And
scale.
the reason you know he's doing this is because it makes sense in that group of notes for a while until it stops making sense.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly it.
If you have like say if like there's part of a line before it modulates, you're in a part of a line with one what you presume is one scale, but it like that group of notes fits into more than one of these scales.
Yeah. So that right, that's where, because some of these scales have overlap, right?
Yeah.
Where like, if you're modulating through like major flat 3, flat 6 scales, a major third apart, you're going to get a minor third half step shape that those scales share, right? So you can't know for sure. So that's like the thing, like you can't know for sure sometimes when he's switching the scale. You know what I mean? But you know that
spending a significant chunk of time there, you can piece
right, there's a significant chunk of time where he's in a particular sound, right? And then he switches. So what I'll do sometimes things change. Like when I first did that first part of that line, I was thinking it was F minor so it was the scale we were just talking about, but on F. So F jazz minor, add flat 5, flat 7, because a lot of those notes are from that scale too. But then later on in the line, I figured out like a mode 3, the notes were coming from mode 3, and so I backtracked, right? And I was like, oh, well, this is from mode 3 too. This is from mode 3. Well, that makes sense that, he would start. Then I recognized the movement too. I go, oh, this is common mode 3 stuff. I've seen him do a lot. And then once I figured out where to cut that off, I was like, okay, so from here to here is actually F jazz major, not F jazz minor. So I mean, it's, sometimes I have to backtrack to figure things out. I'll think it's one thing, and then I'll be like, oh shit, that doesn't make sense. I mean, it would make sense. It could be either way, but like I would think that he's in a scale for longer than, I think the mode 3, when I had the other scale as the jazz minor scale, and I found the mode 3 part, it was like 4, 5, 6 notes or 7 notes or something. Yeah. And I was like, well, it's going to make more sense for him to be in it longer, although there are lines I've analyzed where it seems like he only plays 5 or 6 notes before he switches, and he talks about doing that. He talks about practicing only, well, I think he's exaggerating in this interview, because he says he tried to practice playing no more than 2 notes in any one direction. I'm like, well, how the hell do you do that? Right. So, but I think he's exaggerating. But what he's saying is like, he tries to make things sound chaotic but still having an underlying logic. Right. And that's what I found. I found like a lot of things that look like chaos until you understand the underlying logic. And once you understand the underlying logic, there's nothing that I haven't found anything yet that I can't explain using the 22 scales that are in the book.
Right.
That I narrowed it down to. Obviously, there's more scales than that. Yeah. And, he could be playing more scales than that. But from the analysis that I did of all the however many tunes I analyzed and random lines that people send me and ask me to analyze, and I analyze them, and I haven't found anything I can't explain yet, And it always relates to the harmony. Always.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. It's 22 is enough.
That's right. What I'm very curious, like, you know, when you were working with Thomas, like, how long was that period for you guys? Like, how long?
Thomas took lessons from me for like 10 to 12 years or something. Like he came to me at like 17, I think, or 18-ish. And he still comes over almost every Friday. And, you know, he's not paying me anymore, but we just jam and we talk, we nerd out on all this stuff. And, um, but yeah, he's been coming over here like every Friday for friggin' probably 13 years. And when he came to me, he was like a blues, you know, kid who played a lot of local blues jams and stuff like that. And he was getting into jazz. And he was taken from another jazz guitar player at the time, Pete Weiss, I think is how you say his last name, who's local around here. Is a great teacher and a great player and everything. And he was teaching at the local community college that Thomas was going to. And but Thomas was taking lessons from my brother at one point at the Guitar Sanctuary, and then I was subbing for my brother one day, and I was sitting in there, and Thomas was teaching down there too at the time. He was teaching a few days a week or whatever, and he happened to be down there teaching while I was teaching, and I happened to be sitting in the room just playing all this, you know, it's actually just a bunch of melodic minor things, I think, but I saw this kid just kept walking by my door. Stood by the door, and he'd act because there was these guitars hanging on the wall. He was acting like he was looking at the guitars, and I was looking at him. I was like, "What is this kid doing, man?" You know. And then the next day, he ended up having a lesson with me because he was scheduled to have a lesson with my brother. And then from there, he just always wanted to take lessons from me. So once he got out of college, he started coming over here. So
Where did your, like, I guess, where did your lessons, like, okay, you were discovering all this stuff, but like, what were the kinds of things that you guys were doing to, as the lessons progressed? Like, you know, I guess, like, what was like a typical thing you would have them do?
The Holdsworth.
So what typically what we would do is I would write like some etudes for whatever Messiaen scale we happen to be dealing with, or whatever 9-note scale we happen to be dealing with. I would write out stuff similar to what I'm sending to you, where it would have voicings that come from the scale, it would have like some subsets that you could see in there, it would have some of the common Allen movements and stuff. And I would write an etude, and then every week I would expect him to have an etude written when he came back using the same scale. Right? Like something that was like a chordal thing and a line.
So like the typical length would be like a few measures, right? Like 6, 7 bars.
I mean, yeah, it would be anywhere from, you know, 8 to 16 bars or something probably. Yeah. You know, I just tell him to keep going as long as, you know, however much time he had to work on the stuff. And he was all gung ho on it, you know.
Yeah.
So he was super inspired, and, you know, he kept me inspired and to keep working, because there was plenty of times during this process I wanted to quit. I was like, I don't know, dude, fuck it. I don't know. Like, I'm done, you know, but I just kept being like, a lot of it was, I kept thinking to myself, you know, man, if somebody could have told me what Holdsworth was doing when I was Thomas's age, right? If I'm Thomas's age and I have somebody that can explain Holdsworth in my 20s to me, what kind of player might I have been by now?
Yeah.
Right? If I was taking this approach to everything. So a lot of it was, I was inspired to help him, you know, understand.
That's great.
So
that's great. Well, I really see us creating an army of freaks.
yeah, that's cool, man. You know, I mean, I think the more people that get into this stuff and experiment, explore the sounds and everything, the better off we all are as listeners, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%. This is super cool. Okay. All right. So this week we will master the jazz minor. Well, we're going to look at those major thirds in there, those odd subsets, that diminished scale, drop a B flat, and that Messiaen drop an E flat, and we'll move some structures, make some videos, blow minds. I'm not sure that the weed is really helpful with this. Like, I feel funny, you know. It's like it's pretty disorienting as it is,
Right.
so but maybe it was the missing thing and I'm wrong, you know. Maybe it's amazing for it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, man.
We're gonna practice.
Right on.
We're gonna practice to blow some minds, and this week the first one will come out, right?
Yeah, on Friday. I'll send it to you beforehand so you can look at it, Brett. But,
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Yep.
Cool, man. Well, thank you for your time.
Yeah, man, no problem. It's all good.
See you soon.
All right, take it easy, guys.